331 BC, the plains of Gaugamela stretch endlessly under the scorching sun, but they are not empty. 200,000 Persian warriors stand in perfect formation, the largest army the ancient world has ever assembled. The ground trembles beneath the weight of history about to be written in blood. At the center, Darius III, King of Kings, sits on a chariot of gold. Around him, 10,000 immortals who have never known defeat. To his left, 40,000 cavalry from every corner of the empire. To his right, war elephants from India. Behind them, 15,000 Greek mercenaries, the best infantry money can buy. And in front, 200 scythed chariots, each wheel fitted with curved blades designed to slice through enemy formations like wheat. The Persians have spent 2 years preparing this battlefield, flattened the ground, removed every stone, created the perfect killing ground. Darius has brought every resource of the greatest empire on earth. This time, there will be no escape. Across the plain stands the enemy, 47,000 men, outnumbered more than 4 to 1. Leading them is a 25-year-old king who has never lost a battle, a man who claims to be the son of Zeus. His name is Alexander, and he has come to do the impossible. Can 47,000 men defeat 200,000? Can genius defeat numbers? The answer is about to be written in the greatest tactical masterpiece in ancient warfare. If you want to discover how Alexander achieved the most brilliant victory in ancient warfare, give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to witness is the birth of an empire and the death of another. To understand Gaugamela, we must go back 150 years, back to when Persia was the nightmare that haunted every Greek's dreams. In 490 BC, Darius I landed in Greece with 25,000 warriors. At Marathon, 10,000 Athenians defeated them against all odds, but Greece knew Persia would return. 10 years later, Xerxes invaded with 200,000 men. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans and 7,000 allies held a narrow pass for 3 days. They were betrayed and massacred to the last man. Then came the horror. Xerxes marched into Athens and burned it to the ground. The Parthenon destroyed, the Acropolis in ruins. This was the Persian message: resistance equals annihilation. The Greeks won eventually, Salamis, Plataea, but Persia never forgot. For 150 years, Persian gold corrupted Greek politics. They funded civil wars. Greek fought Greek, while Persia pulled the strings. Greek mercenaries ended up fighting for the empire their grandfathers had bled to resist. The lesson was clear: Persia always won in the end. Until a Macedonian king united the fractured Greek world and brought the fight to Persia's doorstep. Alexander was born in 356 BC in Macedon, a kingdom the Greeks considered barbaric. His father, Philip II, transformed Macedon into the dominant Greek power. He invented the Macedonian phalanx, infantry using 18-foot pikes called sarissas. Alexander's mother, Olympias, claimed her son was sired by Zeus. She poisoned his mind against Philip, convinced him of divine destiny. Tutored by Aristotle, trained by Philip's generals. At 16, he crushed a rebellion while ruling as regent. At 18, he commanded cavalry at Chaeronea and shattered the sacred band of Thebes. Then, in 331 BC, Philip was assassinated. Alexander, at 20, inherited a kingdom on the brink of civil war. Greek cities rebelled. His response was merciless. When Thebes refused to surrender, he razed the entire city. 6,000 killed, 30,000 enslaved. The message, the son is more terrible than the father. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia with 37,000 men. At Granicus, he defeated 40,000 Persians. At Issus, he crushed Darius's 100,000-strong army, forcing the great king to flee his own battlefield, abandoning his family. When Darius offered peace, half his empire and his daughter, Alexander refused. There can be no two suns in the sky. One of us must fall. By 331 BC, Alexander had conquered Syria, Phoenicia, and Egypt, but the real prize remained, Persia itself. Darius sent a message, "Come to Gaugamela. I will meet you in open battle, and there your luck ends." Alexander smiled. This was what he wanted, a decisive battle to end the war forever. 2 years earlier, at Issus, Darius made fatal mistakes. He deployed 100,000 men in a narrow coastal plain, negating his numerical advantage. Alexander saw the weakness instantly. He led his companion cavalry in a wedge straight at Darius's center. The wedge smashed through. Alexander killed Darius's chariot driver. The great king fled. The Persian army collapsed when they saw their king running. But it was close. Persian cavalry nearly broke Alexander's left flank. Only his phalanx's discipline saved him. Darius learned. Never again would he fight in confined terrain. Never again would he place himself within striking distance. For 2 years he prepared. He chose Gaugamela, a flat, open plain, perfect for cavalry and chariots. His engineers spent months flattening every bump, and he brought 200,000 men. This time, numbers would matter. Alexander came not because he had to, but because he wanted to end this war in one stroke. Let the coward choose the battlefield. The brave will win regardless. Alexander commanded the most sophisticated military machine the ancient world had ever seen. At its core, the Macedonian phalanx, infantry with 18-foot sarissas, creating a wall of spear points the enemy couldn't reach. But phalanxes were slow, vulnerable on flanks. That's where Alexander's genius weapon came in, the companion cavalry. 2,000 Macedonian nobles personally led by Alexander. They rode in wedge formation, a triangle designed to punch through enemy lines. Traditional cavalry charged in lines, easy to stop. The wedge concentrated force at a single point, like a spear tip. But Alexander's true innovation was combined arms warfare. Phase 1, phalanx advances, fixing the enemy in place. Phase 2, light troops harass flanks, creating chaos. Phase 3, Alexander leads the companion wedge at the enemy's weakest point. Phase 4, the wedge breaks through. The commander flees, the army collapses. It was surgical, devastating, but it required perfect timing and a commander willing to risk death. Alexander's second advantage, intelligence. He had spies everywhere. He knew about the scythed chariots. He knew Darius's exact deployment. Parmenion, his veteran general, urged caution. "The odds are impossible. We should wait." Alexander's response, "I will not steal victory like a thief. Let Darius have every advantage. When I crush him, the world will know it was destiny." Alexander didn't just have an army, he had a scalpel. September 30th, 331 BC. The Macedonian army camped 4 miles from the Persians. Soldiers saw 200 campfires lighting the horizon. Parmenion proposed a desperate plan. Attack tonight, a surprise raid, it's our only chance. Alexander refused. I will not steal victory. Tomorrow, in daylight, we show the world who is better. That night, while his army lay awake in terror, Alexander did something incredible. He slept peacefully. His guards had to wake him late the next morning. His generals were frantic. The Persians were already in formation. Alexander smiled. For years, Darius ran from me. Today, he stands and fights. Today, I sleep well, because the waiting is over. He rode along the Macedonian lines and shouted one sentence: "We are not here to die. We are here to become immortal." The roar could be heard across the plain. The sun rose on October 1st, 331 B.C., and the fate of the ancient world was about to be decided. Dawn brought suffocating heat. Alexander deployed his forces in an oblique angle, deliberately creating gaps. Parmenion commanded the left, Alexander the right. At 9 a.m., Darius gave the order. The chariots charged. 200 scythed death machines thundered across the plain. Macedonian infantry watched them come, the moment of terror. At 100 yards, Macedonian archers unleashed hell. Horses screamed and fell. Those that survived hit the Macedonian line, and nothing happened. The Macedonians simply opened gaps. The chariots rolled through empty spaces. Behind the line, light troops swarmed and destroyed every single chariot. Of 200 scythed chariots, 0 inflicted casualties. Darius's secret weapon, 2 years in development, neutralized in minutes. But the real battle was just beginning. Bessus, commanding 40,000 Persian cavalry on the right, saw opportunity. The Macedonian left looked weak. He charged. The collision was catastrophic. Persian cavalry smashed through. They broke into the Macedonian rear, attacking the baggage train. Parmenion sent desperate messages. "The left is collapsing. I need reinforcements now." Alexander never received them. He was already committed. Parmenion had to hold alone. His Thessalian cavalry countercharged. Brutal melee combat, no formations, just thousands of men hacking at each other. For 30 minutes, pure chaos. Slowly, at horrific cost, they stabilized. But they couldn't advance. They were pinned, bleeding. The battle's outcome now depended entirely on Alexander. Alexander had been waiting for this exact moment. As Bessus committed to the left, it created a gap in the Persian line, maybe 500 yards. It was enough. Alexander turned to his companions. "With me, for glory." The wedge charged, not at full gallop, controlled canter that could accelerate. They hit the gap like a thunderbolt. Alexander's lance impaled the first Persian noble. He dropped it and drew his sword. The companions carved through, 50 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards into the Persian formation. Persian cavalry countercharged, attacking the wedge's flanks. Maximum danger. If the wedge collapsed, Alexander died. But the phalanx arrived. Their sarissas created a mobile fortress protecting the cavalry. Alexander drove deeper, heading straight for Darius. The immortals formed a wall around their king. They would die protecting him. Alexander didn't care. He smashed into the immortals. His sword rose and fell. Blood sprayed across his armor. A spear grazed his thigh. Bucephalus was wounded but refused to slow. Alexander killed the immortal general personally. And then he was face to face with Darius, 20 yards. Alexander raised his bloody sword and charged, and Darius broke again. The instant the Persian army saw that golden chariot running, morale collapsed. The battle became a rout. The Persian center disintegrated. Soldiers threw down weapons and ran. Formations dissolved into panicked mobs. Alexander wanted to pursue Darius immediately, but Parmenian's messenger finally reached him. The left is collapsing. Agonizing choice: pursue Darius or save his men. He chose his men. The companions wheeled and charged across the battlefield, hitting the Persian cavalry from behind. Trapped between two forces, the Persians broke. Bessus ordered full retreat. His 40,000 fled east. The Greek mercenaries, 15,000 hoplites, fought to the end. Alexander offered surrender. They refused. Then die as traitors. The phalanx pushed them back like a hydraulic press. 10,000 were slaughtered, 5,000 surrendered and were sent to Macedonian mines in chains. By mid-afternoon, Gaugamela was over. Alexander pursued Darius for 75 miles but never caught him. After 3 days, exhausted, he returned. What he found was apocalyptic. 40,000 to 50,000 Persian dead. Macedonian losses, 1,000 to 1,500 dead. Casualty ratio, 30 to 1 or 40 to 1. In military terms, this wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Gaugamela destroyed an empire. Babylon opened its gates without resistance. Alexander was crowned king of Babylon. Susa surrendered. Alexander captured 50,000 talents of gold, approximately $100 to $200 billion in modern value, the largest seizure of wealth in ancient history. Persepolis resisted. Alexander captured it and burned it to the ground. Revenge for Athens or drunken accident, still debated. The Persian Empire was over. Darius fled east, but his own nobles lost faith. In 330 BC, Bessus assassinated him and declared himself king. Alexander captured Bessus, tried him, and executed him for regicide. With Darius dead, Alexander was king of kings, pharaoh of Egypt, king of Macedon. At 25 years old, he ruled the largest empire in human history. And he wasn't done. What can Gaugamela teach us 2,300 years later? Preparation defeats numbers. Alexander studied the terrain for months. Darius had more soldiers, but Alexander had better preparation. Flexibility wins. When Darius's chariots failed, he had no backup plan. Alexander adapted constantly. Lead from the front. Alexander risked death personally. His soldiers followed him into hell because he'd be first there. Intelligence is a force multiplier. Alexander understood Persian weaknesses better than Darius understood them himself. October 1st, 321 BC, 200,000 Persian warriors stood at Gaugamela. By sunset, 40,000 were dead. The rest were fleeing. 47,000 Macedonians achieved the impossible through preparation, innovation, and leadership. A 25-year-old king led a cavalry charge at an empire and shattered it in one afternoon. Gaugamela changed how wars were fought. Combined arms doctrine, cavalry shock tactics, principles born on that bloody plain are still taught today. Alexander never lost a battle. His empire lasted barely a decade after his death, but his legend, that's immortal. Because on one scorching afternoon, a young king proved that genius can defeat numbers, and one moment of brilliance can change history forever. Alexander the Great crushed 200,000 Persian warriors and became immortal.